Would you breathe with me, please? Taking a deep breath. And again. And one more time, please. Deep breath in. Thank you. I love how that gets us kind of all on the same page, so to speak. There's an old teaching story that I love. It's attributed to a number of different people, and it has several different version setups to get to the punchline. But the version that I'm going to use today is about a psychiatrist who wanted to see if he could change an optimist into a pessimist and a pessimist into an optimist. So he took two children, one who was very optimistic and one who was very pessimistic. And he put the pessimistic kid in a room filled with every toy and every game imaginable. And he put the optimistic kid in a dimly lit room filled with horse manure. And the pessimistic kid, he did nothing but complain the whole time he was there. He didn't like the toys, they didn't work right, the games weren't right. Meanwhile, he went to observe the optimistic kid who was smiling and diving into the manure and digging and laughing, totally joyful. And the psychiatrist could not understand what was going on, how this kid was so happy. And the kid said, "Are you kidding me? With all of this manure, you know there's a pony in here somewhere." It's an old story. But it is the perfect lead-in to what I want to talk about today, which is looking for the good, also known as finding the pony. Because one of the very basics of our teaching is that we are always at choice as to whether we're going to look for and find things to complain about. Yes, always can find something to complain about. Or if we are going to look for and find things to be happy about. Because whichever way we're looking, we're going to find what we're looking for. We talked a little bit about this last week in the talk about the autobiography of in 5 chapters, which is another of my favorite teaching stories. How many of you were here for that? Last week's talk. Okay, all right, good. What we learned in that, it's one of my favorite talks. I think I'll keep that one for a while. But what we learned is that when we become more spiritually aware, when we become more awake, or as they say now, woke, when we become more woke, we tend to make choices that are more life-affirming and positive and lead us down a different path. Have you found that? Have you been doing this work? Have you found that you tend to make choices that are more life-affirming? For me, I really try to practice what I preach. This is not let me tell you the theory, and then I'm just going to go out and live my life the way that I want to, or do as I say, not as I do. I really strive to be an example of the teaching with varying degrees of success. And I say that because, life sometimes shows up in ways you're not expecting. And no matter how woke you are, no matter how aware you are, it takes you by surprise and it keeps you reeling. Anybody? Yeah. Well, that happened for me this week, which was really interesting on the heels of doing a talk about making different choices. Very interesting. So I'm all about choice and positivity and everything. And I had an experience that almost sent me to my knees in its unexpectedness. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Ooh, I'm feeling emotional already. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Let's just say that with this encounter, my integrity and my authenticity was called into question. My methods as a spiritual teacher and counselor were challenged. I felt very misunderstood, and my feelings were hurt. It was not a fun time. I did not dig it. So fortunately, however, after the initial shock, this training that I've been doing for 30 years, this teaching that I've been studying and practicing for 30 years, kicked in as it was going on, and a few things happened. So this person who was talking to me, saying really angry things, I knew it wasn't about me. It felt personal, but it wasn't about me. I knew that they were in a lot of pain about circumstances in their life, and that they transferred that anger and that hurt to me. The other part of it was that I really care about this person. I really do, and I think that's why it hurts so much. So I made myself sit and listen in the midst of the storm of emotion. I sat and listened. I didn't defend. I didn't get angry. I just listened to what they had to say. Because even though what they said was not true from my perspective, it was true in their perspective. And I think that's the thing that hurt the most, was that somebody I cared about thought those things about me. You know? So what happened was that afterwards I spent a lot of time really examining what they said to determine if it was valid. Because I didn't think it was, but it was worthy of examination. Do you understand what I'm saying? Socrates said this: the unexamined life is not worth living. So unless we are willing to take the time to look at our life experiences and to try to determine why they are the way they are, and then change the thoughts and change the beliefs that don't serve us, then we are not living authentically. If we are not willing to really look at what is. Because here's the deal. This is either good news or bad news. If you want to know what is in your consciousness, look at your life. Everybody go like this. If you want to know what you truly believe, look at your circumstances, because they are mirrors. Your belief and your mirror. They are mirrors of what you accept as true. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said this: life is a mirror reflecting to us as conditions the images of our thinking. Whatever one thinks tends to take form and become a part of his experience. So what this caused me to do, this experience, was to look at the areas of my life where maybe I was upset and angry. To look at the areas of my life that were unresolved or unsettled. And it also caused me to look at where I am being critical of others and of myself. Because again, if you want to see what it is that you truly believe, look at your experience. So even though I do all this work about self-love and self-acceptance, and I do see it mirrored in almost all of my relationships, there is still a part of me that is super self-critical. Anybody else? Anybody else self-critical here? And that is what came back to me earlier this week. So even though I said that their anger wasn't about me, it really wasn't. What did happen, though, was that my thinking created a vibe that invited that criticism in to my experience. My self-critical thinking created a vibe that invited someone else's criticism in. Dr. Holmes said this: the images of your thought attract to you, and you are attracted to people, circumstances, and situations which are like them. Once you fully realize this, you will understand that to change undesirable conditions or to protect yourself from them, you must of necessity change the basic pattern of your thought. We are called the science of mind. We aren't called the science of hopeful thinking or the science of wishing. We are called the science of mind because we understand that our thoughts create our experience. So how we do this, how we change the basic pattern of our thought, is to observe how the patterns continue to show up in our circumstances and our situations, and then do the work to change them. Anybody else have repeating patterns in your life? Half of you, the rest of you, go away. So one of the ways that we do this, one of the ways is, first of all, to become aware by observing our conditions. And the other thing that we do to train ourselves is to look for the good. To look for the good. In other words, when we receive a pile of manure that we weren't expecting, rather than moan and complain, take the time to observe what it might be reflecting about ourselves. And then clean that up. Now you may be thinking, how do I do it? I don't want to look at this stuff. Anybody? Oh my God, I don't want to look through the manure. I don't want to go through this. But here's the truth. I know most of you. I don't know everybody here well, but I know I've had many of you in class. And I know you have the tools. I know you've been in class. You know how to treat. You know how to do meditate. You're doing your reading. You know how to think deeply about things. You know how to access your higher self and get that wisdom that you need. You know how to do this. And if you can't, because you're too close to the situation, you can't see the pattern, you can't see the cause, you know you have access to practitioners who can. They're not doing deep therapy on you. They are looking from an outside perspective what patterns you may be not seeing. An awareness of a pattern you can't see. This is what they are trained to do. So utilizing a practitioner is another way of looking for the good. They will help you to do that. To look at things that at first blush don't seem like a blessing. Because here's what happens. When you're in it, it doesn't feel like a blessing. But when you're able to pull back or have somebody help you pull back and see the situation from a more aware perspective. And from that perspective, you can see how it came about and you can see what it came here to teach you. When you do like right here, Einstein says you can't heal a problem with the same consciousness that created the problem. Looking back, pulling up, going, oh, I see. Let me find out what it came here to teach me. Because when we can look at our unexpected challenges and as opportunities to grow and to learn, it takes a little bit of the sting out of it. You understand what I'm saying? When we can see how it came about and that there is something here for me to learn, it does not hurt that much. It's still manure-y. It is now. It's on tape. It's on the internet. Here's the truth. Anything that inspires growth is ultimately a blessing. We may not see it as such, especially at the time, but that's the way life works. So I have a favorite poem by the Sufi mystic Rumi. I've shared it before, probably several different times, but you know what? It kept coming back to me, and it kept coming back to me this week when I dealt with that situation. So guess what? We're going to hear it again. It's that good. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Now, beyond, I'm not talking about the guy up in the sky testing us. I'm talking about accessing a higher vibration, a higher awareness, a more expanded life expression. We are here in life school, for lack of a better term. Varying levels, varying grades, but we are here in life school. And every time we have a big growth opportunity and we are able to see the good in it, we graduate to a new grade. That make sense? Yeah. Because those experiences provide us with the opportunity to see the parts of us that need healing, that are keeping us from moving forward and keeping us from moving upward. They are clearing you out for some new delight, some new experience, some new opportunity. And I'm not saying it's easy. Just know that. I moan and complain and gnash my teeth just like everybody else. I really wanted to do that this week. It shook me up. Still shakes me up. Can't hardly even talk about it. But here's the good news. I have enough training and I surround myself with enough conscious people that I could not stay there for very long. So with the encouragement of some trusted friends, I did an assessment. After this happened, I did an assessment of what is true in my life. What is true in my life? And here's what I discovered. That love is all there is. Love is all there is, and in spite of circumstances or conditions. And the truth is, I have a lot of people who love me because I'm loving. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. A truth is, I live these principles. I really do. They allow me to do the work that I do with integrity and honesty. That's true. It's true that I participate fully in the law of circulation, so I have financial stability, for which I'm grateful. I'm pretty healthy, mind, body, spirit, a little bit of work on that. And yes, sometimes I am self-critical. Sometimes I have doubts. Sometimes I think uncharitable thoughts. Sometimes I get my feelings hurt. And this week that showed up as a truth with a small t, into my experience. So as unpleasant as it was, I did learn what I needed to learn, what I just shared with you, and I'm committed to doing the work to clear that up, to get rid of that self-criticism, to get rid of those uncharitable thoughts that don't serve me. I'm committed to getting rid of that. I'm committed to observing where my thoughts are out of alignment with the truth of the capital T and doing my homework, which includes giving this talk, which was super, super uncomfortable. And now, I'm going to look for the pony. Because there's always a pony. Say that with me, there's always a pony. And so it is. And so Thank you. Thank you. Now, this is the song that we shifted up, because I wanted something upbeat and fun, and I don't think y'all are going to mind that at all. Not at all. Please welcome again Amy Bishop, Oliver, Chance, Luis, and Cam, our amazing band.